Welcome, adjudicators, to another episode of Disputed, where two fictional characters go head-to-head, armed only with their advocates, and you will decide the outcome. Everything is disputed. Woo! Welcome back, my friends. So you may be noticing right now it's just me. This evening, Damon had some family stuff he needed to take care of, but that's all good. I will recommend that you go check out my brother Damon over on at Damon Does. He's on the Twitter there. He has a podcast he does. It's really awesome. He's got the Stack, the library podcast. And so, yeah, as he would tell you this evening, he is the Mike Wazowski of the Disputed podcast, leaving me to be the Sully of the Disputed podcast. You can find me on lots of podcasts. Actually, I've taken a little hiatus from many of them, so this is really it at the moment, but we do have table reads coming up for How Are You Now at the beginning of next month, so I look forward to that. But anyway, you can go to podskier.com to check out any of the shows that I've been on or doing or anything like that. So last week, let's get into that real quick. We had two of the biggest names go head to head. Jack Reacher versus Assam from Warrior. So, but before we get too deep into this, let's let's just go to the tape here real quick. All right, here we are. Back in the arena. Oh, I did the wrong one here. I think I may have. Yeah, I did the wrong one. My bad. Give me a second while I load that up. That was I could have swore I had the right one in there. And that's just like something I would do because Damon's not here. So we'll blame it on Damon right now. So but yeah, this is the one I think that I meant to pull up. Where was it? So yeah, I went to the wrong folder. It was my bad. So give me two shakes while I bring this up, because it's an amazing battle that we had with Assam v Reacher here. So two shakes. Here we go. Let's bring this up. All right. Back at Disputed Arena, we've got our man Jack Reacher coming in with versus Assam. They go right to it, slugging it out. Assam comes with a high kick. Of course, Reacher's going to land the elbow. It's back and forth. It's just slugfest. No, I'm not as good at Damon with this stuff. So Reacher said, "Fuck you, I'm leaving." Then Assam decides he's going to come after him. Reacher's not having it. Throws him in the turnbuckle on the side. Oh man, it's just mayhem. Just dropping him like a bad habit. Ooh. Oh. That's Reacher taking out the trash there. He's just owning it. And the victory goes to our boy Jack Reacher. Oh. Just he's been the heel this entire time, but he's been an amazing competitor, and this is just awesome. So continuing in his juggernaut role, Jack Reacher shows that he's willing and able to take on all comers. We got only 18 votes this last episode, but that's okay. It was a good sample size, so I would in the end, Reacher ended up with 66.7% of the vote, while Assam ended up with 33 1/3. So here's the time I would ask Damon his thoughts on this. I personally, going into this, I'm a Reacher fan personally, for a while now. And I will have to thank Tom Cruise for getting me into it, because I'd never heard of Jack Reacher before. But that's when I realized who Jack Reacher was. I mean, he was not Tom Cruise sized at all. And the man is 6'5", 250 pounds with a very lengthy career in the military police, and lots of skills. So I have a high expectation of Reacher going the distance. So yeah, high fives all around to Acadia for yet another dub for Reacher. And even though his victory eluded Assam, our man Brian Tan fought a very good dispute, brought it to the masses. So and also, again, loads and loads of gratitude to Keith and Heather Mackey for the awesome WWE 2K22 characters that they make for us each episode. Again, you can find them on Twitter at Heather Mackey, MAKI1. That's the number 1, or on Instagram at Soul Freedom 10, SOL Freedom 10, 10. And so yeah, that was I thought that was a great fight. And it's going to be interesting. So now Reacher's moving on to the championship, where we now know that he's going to have to fight one of these two characters this evening. So we have Demon's popped in. I'll Cinderfella run. Yeah, first Cinderfella ended in spectacular fashion, but it was a Cinderfella run. So yeah, it was Awesome did a great job. I mean, you couldn't expect more from a guy with that skill set. So so what we would normally be doing at this point tonight is bringing in our introducing our episode for this evening. So I will do that now. Tonight, the last of the final 4. A pair of perfect pugilists to pique the most particular of pundits. Who are these 2 practitioners of poundings, you ask? Only 2 of the keenest competitors to ever crack open a cranium. Kato from the Green Hornet versus Amos Burton from the Expanse. Everything is disputed. Woo! This one's giving me chills because, man, I don't know how this one's going to end up, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, because Kato has a storied history. Amos Burton has a lot of depth to that character throughout the Expanse series, books and TV show. So there's no telling how this is going to end. So, so while we're at it, I think we're going to go ahead and start introducing our guests. After making his first episode in victory, this advocate is hoping to make it 2 in a row. He hails from Israel, was raised in New York City, did a decade in Sin City, yet currently lives in Vancouver, Washington. That's the one that's just a bit south of the one that's up north. You may sometimes find him in the desert, volunteering at Burning Man as a temple guardian. You may also find him in front of his piano where he's written an entire musical as self-taught maestro. He also has an 8,000 plus score on Tetris Connected. Some know him as Embers, others as fucking fantastic, other times as mild-mannered water bear. But for this evening, put your hands together for Ami Axelrod. Ami,
hey,
my friend, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be back. I'm glad that my boy made it out.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was impressive. So for your first time, just slugging out right off the bat. So again, let's tell the folks who you're advocating for this evening and what you bring to the table for them.
So tonight I'll be advocating again for Amos Burton from the Expanse series. I am a long-standing fan of the Expanse. I've read the books, the short stories, and so I know a lot about the character and a lot of the iterations, and I'm excited to defend him again.
Excellent. It's great to have you back.
Thanks.
Now, our next advocate is back after last claiming victory for Kato over fan favorite Wayne from Letterkenny. Hailing from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, where he is known to be a connoisseur of both bubblegum and guava juice. In the streets, they call him E or Ev. His mama calls him Evan. But now give it up for your boy, MCE Amazing.
Make some noise! Yeah, baby, let's go. I'm ready. Wow, what's happening, guys?
Woo!
Woo,
Good to
yeah.
have you back, my man.
Yeah, it's always good to be back, man. You know, every time I'm expecting not to get to come back, and I get to come back, man. It's like a dream come true, like living it over and over and over again. It's beautiful. I love it.
As Barry Manilow says, looks like you made it. So, Ev, if you'd like to share something about who you're advocating for this evening and what you bring to the table for them.
Oh man, you all know my boy Kato, the real hero in the Green Hornet duo. I mean, let's be honest. That's all you really need to say. He's the real hero. Calling it the Kato show overseas. I mean, what more do you need to know? As far as what I bring, you know, your boy MC Amazing is always here to bring the hype. You know what I mean? But also, I bring a pretty decent knowledge of the Kato, not really the Green Hornet because nobody cares about him, but like Kato, and his proficiency as I myself am a martial artist, so I really understand a lot of what goes into like achieving mastery in that regard. So yeah, I'm ready to get started, man. Like let's get it cracking. Let's go.
Hey, I'm here with you, brother. All right. So before we get going, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the rules because we got to have some of those. This is a time debate. You can bank your time if you don't use it all, and the moderator can extend your time up to another 30 seconds at my discretion. So we start with each advocate. Advocate 1 will have an opening statement of 5 minutes, followed by Advocate 2's rebuttal. Then we're doing the inverse of that, with Advocate 2 doing their opening statement for 5 minutes, followed by the Advocate 1's rebuttal. Then we will get into questions from the host and the audience. If there are any from the audience, I'll bring them on screen, and you'll have 2 minutes to respond to all those questions. And then finally, we will end with closing arguments for 2 minutes, first from Advocate 2, then from Advocate 1. Is there any questions before we get going?
No, sir.
I don't believe so. Pretty
All right.
straightforward.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the clock here, and I'm going to do this. And let me I got to start this thing. I got too many things to do at once. So, all right, Ami, if you're ready, let's get after it.
Well, as MC Amazing stated in their introduction, Kato is definitely the quote-unquote hero behind the Green Hornet. But I would say that the Green Hornet themselves is kind of Jeff Bezos if he decided to beat up people that he didn't like. He owns a newspaper, and he's just decided that these are the people that need to be beaten up. And Kato is his thug, his goon. He's the one who he sends to, snaps his fingers and say, go beat that guy up. Don't like him that much. And yeah, Kato's great. He it depends on the iteration, right? Because Bruce Lee's wasn't a mechanic, but was a valet and had all these other skills, was an inventor, invented this knockout gas stuff. So he's definitely skilled, besides for the fact of the martial arts, especially under the Bruce Lee iteration and the more recent one. I mean, Green Hornet's also portrayed by Seth Rogen, my stunt double. And so, how much of a badass can he be? He's just going to laugh his way through the bad guys. Yeah, Green Hornet's kind of weak. He has an amazing sidekick, Kato. Kato, what is, Kato over in Asian countries? Because he is the star. Without a doubt, Bruce Lee was a star. And, when it comes down to, however, fighting Amos Burton, another very smart individual, another big brawler, I think that there's precedent in media that, even Bruce Lee, like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt's character, they go 1-to-1, right? And they get interrupted on their third fight and it doesn't get settled. But he's not unbeatable, right? Bruce Lee and Kato, got beaten by Dick Grayson. Well, I guess not beaten, but he got into a draw with you know, the best iteration of Dick Grayson, right? Is Tim Ward, was it? He
Burt
you
Ward.
know, Burt Ward, there it is. I think I put Tim Burton in my head. Different Batman.
Tim
no
Burt
Robin
Ward.
on that one. Tim Burton Ward. And so, you know, in every iteration, Amos is a badass, unstoppable force of nature. He, you know, Kato can be is like a mercenary, right? He's directed at whomever he's directed at, and he takes orders. But you know, Amos fights at the core to his survival, speaking back to his trauma, and that just informs everything that he goes forward. And he's a survivor, and as I stated in the books with the spoilers, like that extrapolates into like the ultimate survivor, and he is not going to be stopped by someone who knows martial arts and is really smart, because you know he works on rocket. He's a rocket scientist, right? Like he fixes like spaceships. He did a busted one and got off the planet Earth when rocks hit there. He survives all sorts of stuff. He's even beaten a proto-molecule monster in the show, right? He is very fierce. He thinks on his feet. He's a weapons expert in various ways with explosives as well. And, you know, I think if it comes down to it, Amos Burton would be really, really taking him out, you know, at the end of the day. And I'm going to bank the rest of my time.
All right. We'll give you a minute 3 there.
Thank you.
Let me stop that and bring E over here and let's go. All right.
It's a rebuttal time. Yeah. Listen, man, I understand, you know, Amos Burton is considered like a really strong guy, but I mean, let's take stock of the people he actually fights most of the time. Who are we fighting? Who are we really fighting here? Are we fighting dangerous thugs most of the time? Not really. Who are we fighting? Belters, Beltaloda, people who grew up in zero G, who have weak limbs. And it's like, I mean, is it really? I mean, honestly, is it really that tough for somebody like Amos to beat some guy who's like half his size? I mean, let's take stock. Remember, he fought Miller in the what's called the break room. But let's be honest. Let's be 100%. Miller was no threat to him. Miller's no threat to him. Most of the people that he fights are no threat to him. These are like basically like low-level weaklings that really don't know what they're getting into fighting somebody who grew up on Earth with gravity, with actual gravity. Remember, like when they go onto Earth, like they're messed up, man, because their bodies are just weaker than ours. They're just weaker. So, I mean, you got a big brawling dude like Amos walking around who knows how to kill people, and you come up against like this spindly dude who knows how to use a knife. Who do you think's gonna win? I mean, come on. Like, I mean, it's not that tough to go around bullying like everybody when you're the only teacher in a kindergarten class. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. I understand, you know, Amos has he has depth. He's a cool character, but like, I remember one of the times he fought somebody bigger than him. Didn't he need help to finish that fight?
He threw him down a well.
Yeah, after the guy was shot.
All right, is that it? I'll give you a couple more seconds to have thought.
No, that's it. I think that's a good place to end.
All right, we got a message here from our friend Casey. Hey, fellas. So Casey's a good friend of ours from over at the Letterkenny side of things, and we love having her. So let's get to your opening statement here. All right,
everybody. Once again, I feel like we've done this fight before somewhere. I mean, some bumpkin who's a brawler, who has like a really strict sensibility about justice. Didn't Kato kick his ass in the last one? Oh no, that was Wayne. But you know what? Repeat performances are good, I guess. You know, that's okay. We give the crowd what they want here. Yeah. So like I stated in my rebuttal, yeah, Amos spends a lot of time fighting people who really aren't like as strong as him, not even half as strong as him. And it's not even like, oh, well, I'm so much better than, like, he's not like Vin Diesel, like it's like, you know, Riddick. Like he's basically just like the last man standing. And I mean, it's funny, you kind of like, you know, you mentioned earlier about Kato being a goon. I mean, if anybody fits that description more, it couldn't be Amos Burton. There could be nobody that fits that description more than Amos Burton. I mean, he's literally the gun, especially at the beginning of the show, that Naomi can point at everybody else. Like, I mean, even if she did, not even by choice, like it's just because, yo, boss, what do you want me to do? Hey, I mean, he's like a puppy dog, you know, he's like an obedient, loyal dog. Like, oh, what do you want me to do next, master? You know, I mean, like Kato, for the most part, actually is pretty self-activating. I mean, he's the sidekick. He is the sidekick that everybody wants. Like, I mean, can you imagine? You don't even have to be competent. You don't even have to be a competent hero. You don't have to fight well. You don't even have to really be able to negotiate that well. If you got Kato behind you, you say, hey, man, why don't you do what we tell you to do? No. Kato just does this at your neck, and it's like, okay, I'll talk. Just that. That is enough. That alone. Also, let's talk about Amos Burton for a little bit. Like I said, dude, I'm a fan. I like brawling characters. I mean, that's something I enjoy. But Amos Burton has, especially early on, has a huge flaw in that he doesn't really know how to control himself sometimes. He has to be reined in. He has to have somebody else come and guide his steps all the time. And especially when back to when he fought Miller, like he had to be pulled off of Miller by Naomi. And that's not the first time, and it's not the last time that an incident like that occurs. How exactly can you expect to fight against somebody who can easily just get in your head? Kato is like a master martial artist. Okay, it's not go. You can't just say, "Oh well, I'm just going to overpower you." No, Kato fights people who are bigger and stronger than him all the time. That is all he does. It's basically it's the exact flip side of what Amos is doing. Almost everybody he fights is smaller and weaker than he is. I mean, it's no contest. But when Kato goes out and fights people, not only do they have weapons, they got guns, brass knuckles. They got dudes swinging from ropes, trying to hang people and stuff. This is weird. This is really weird stuff. I mean, it's not proto-molecule, but let's be honest, man. The street, it's scary on the streets, man. It's super scary, bro. And we have 5 people coming at you. The person you want by your side is somebody who not only can stay cool in a fight, can take directions to the letter, and they know without you having to tell them to restrain themselves. That's the kind of person you want on your side. Somebody who is basically the pinnacle of discipline and martial mastery. I gotta tell you, you can't really count on somebody who not only you have to pull off of people, be like, okay, stop now, but also they're a bully. It's just that's pretty much it. He just bullies people into submission, and it's that'll work on Beltalowda, man. But here on the streets, even at space station with gravity, you fight Kato, you're gonna get murked, man. You can't just swing your fist and expect that he's gonna be there. Still be there. He's gonna be behind you, ready to knock you out. So, yeah, man. I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I think, like I said, Kato literally beats people who are twice his size all the time. Amos Burton would just be another notch on the belt, man.
All right. Get your book in 10 if you want it.
I will take it.
All right.
Gonna need it.
All right, gonna bring Ami back over here and restart the 2-minute timer. Go for it.
So to start, I think that the argument against Amos starts as a very reductionist because he fights people besides belters. He has a long-standing career throughout the books and the show that includes, in the books, he actually becomes an enforcement agent for the OPA and is traveling around policing the belt. And that is all sorts of people, which includes Beltas, Martians. In the show, he takes on Martians and wins. He takes on molecules. What do you think Kato would be able to do against that? He'd try the knockout gas, but it's not human anymore, so that wouldn't work. He'd try and kick it, and it would punch him into orbit. Like, he wouldn't be able to take on a protomolecule monster if he came down to it. And Amos did. He's killed many. He's gone on all sorts of missions. He is essentially a special forces agent. And, you know, Kato is a mercenary, and sure, very well studied, but he, you know, at the end of the day, he doesn't have the abilities that Amos does. And then, you know, we're talking about a space station. Okay, so if there's gravity, but what about a fight in 0G? Amos is shown on the show to be able to have lightning fast reflexes that can catch a drill out of thin air and stop it from getting Prax in the face. So he is not that slow, despite how much of a supposed brawler he is. But he's a weapons expert. He knows all sorts of things. He also has the Rocinante's autocannons and railgun at his disposal that he could also, you know, depending on the exact scenario. But still, even in fisticuffs, he is ruthless, and he is driven by his own survival. And he will do anything to ensure his own survival, and has done all sorts of stuff. What was the other argument that at the what was I'm trying to remember what point you had made that, you know, it was ridiculous. That might be why I can't remember. It was like so livid.
It's so ridiculous.
You know, McMurtry, and you know, he's also not beholden to, you know, he's sort of ruthless himself in that he doesn't care about feelings. And so even if he likes Kato, which he probably would, I think they'd get along, and if they weren't fighting, have a beer together just fine. But you know, even if he likes him, it's not going to stop him from stopping him. And that'll be my argument.
All right. All right. Well done, fellas. Let me go ahead and take that out for a minute and where is it? There we go. There we are. So that was the time for Q&A, folks. Any of you watching out there wish to bring in a question regarding either one of the contestants, feel free to. So for me, as far as bringing up the issue with size. Now, if you said that, you know, that Kato's always having to fight guys who are bigger. I mean, he can't help that. He's tiny. So it's, you know, it's not a reach that everybody he has to fight is bigger than him, unless he's fighting children. He's a tiny dude. So the question that I have is what about it is what about him is it that makes him be able to fight those who are beyond his capacity, his build?
Yo, Dean, did you just get like infected with like the protomolecule yourself?
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Your voice was coming through a little garbly right there. Could you?
Was it? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
know. Through like a Cthulhu.
Sorry about that. So yeah, my question was, what is it about Kato that allows him to take on opponents who are larger than his size but you know still very skilled? What is it about him that allows him to overcome the size difference?
I think like the thing about Kato is that like Amos, like he's somebody who like, you know, is like, I mean, he goes out and he fights, but you gotta, what it comes down to is you gotta survive, man. You know, like that's what it really comes down to. It's like this is this is a hurdle you have to overcome. These guys are bigger than you, they're stronger than you, they might have more reach than you, and God help you if they're faster than you. So what do? You gotta overcome all that. You gotta like come up with a way, strategies. What do? You go for like pressure points. What do? You go for you dance around a little bit, you tire them out a little bit. Like I think like Kato is in a unique position where he out of necessity, he had to learn how to do that. I mean, being smaller than everybody else, like you are a target. People think that you're a pushover. They think that it's easy. Oh, that's an easy target over there. And then they come up and they get a big surprise. And that's the point. It's supposed to surprise you. Like back when I was a kid, my sensei used to tell me, yo, you got to go from a puppy wagging your tail to a vicious wolf with snapping jaws like that. And I think Kato has mastered it, man. I think that is exactly what makes him the kind of man that's able to like overcome those kinds of deficiencies, in like size and stature. It's all about focusing on the things you can control, like your skill, like how fast your punch is, like whether like when like your timing, like what your footwork, all of that, man. Like it's all comes together. It coalesces to make a martial artist without peer, man.
Right on. Okay. So yeah, I just got Tiara came in and told me that the sound is very electronic and echoey. So I apologize to anybody out there. I will if this sounds echoey right now live, I will do my best to get it fixed once we complete this, because everybody should have their own individual recordings, in which at that point I can splice them all together and put it back out here. So I apologize if some of this is unlistenable or unviewable. In any case, as far as Amos is concerned, I don't recall throughout the series. Now I've only ever watched the TV series, and I have missed the last season. I don't recall, aside from the proto molecule being a real challenge. Who has Ami fought? Has Ami fought anyone that's like someone like a Kato, someone who is a martial arts master, who is also very technique driven, very quick to, Amos is known for, when he's fighting, he's coming right at you. There's nothing that you have to try to decipher on what he's doing. He lets you know he's coming after you, regardless of how many of you there are.
He'll use you as a weapon against the others.
But most of these times, like we was talked about earlier, there are other belters, that he's going against in most of these cases. How does he handle someone like a Kato?
I don't believe that he does ever fight someone who's explicitly a martial arts expert. He does take on several Martian Marines, Bobby specifically, but also in the show he shoots off Martian Marines in the space. The Behemoth, prior to it becoming Medina Station. So he could take on Marines who are highly skilled, highly trained, are martial warriors technically, and really tough. And Bobby he couldn't, but Bobby's the ultimate Marine. Other Marines tremble at the sight of her, and I think and he does admirably against most Marines. So equating that into a martial artist, it just makes me think of like Indiana Jones, when that guy comes out and he does all the sword flourishes, and then he just turns around and shoots him, like, and stripping away weaponry, right? If we're talking fisticuffs, just generally, is like he is the physical equivalent of a gun going off. That is Amos Burton. Like, you cannot stop him. He is relentless and ruthless and will stop at nothing until he is dead. He's had his hand shut off and still came coming. Like, you can't take him on, and that's before the spoilery stuff where he becomes immortal effectively. Like,
Right.
you know, no, between the two, like, if I had to fight either of them, I would have. I know I'd get my ass kicked by either of them, but at the end of the day, Bruce Lee is like, I mean, he's a force of nature too. Like, you can't. But it's not Bruce Lee. It's Kato. It's only one iteration that has Kato as, right. Like, so
There's the reason these two characters have made it this far in the scraps.
right. Like, they've gotten this far. It's pretty late in the game. I mean, Kato. Who has Kato taken on in previous iterations? Wasn't it?
Well, I mean, last time was Wayne from Letterkenny.
It was Wayne from Letterkenny. Right, like, he'd take on Wayne, but, Wayne is the toughest guy in Letterkenny. Like, what is he going to do against Kato, who's a world-renowned, like, martial artist, right? But
Kato's first fight was against Walker, Texas Ranger.
Was against Walker. That makes sense, too, to me. But, Amos is beyond international. He's intergalactic. Like, he is the deadliest thing on several worlds. And Kato is an amazing martial artist on Earth.
All right. Ev, do you have any questions for him? If you don't, that's fine. Oh, you're on mute or something. Or I'm not hearing you.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Ami, do you have any questions for Ev?
I don't believe so. It's been great debating you.
Yeah, man.
So let me go bring the timer back up again because we're gonna now let's see, bring up Ev, and we're gonna do our 2-minute closing statements.
Oh,
all right.
Okay, so for in closing, I mean, what it comes down to is, who do you think is it's not, you're not just fighting Bruce Lee. It's not just Bruce Lee. It'd be one thing if you were just fighting Bruce Lee. This is Bruce Lee on crack, man. This is Kato. This is the genius mechanic, master martial artist that went to Tibet to help monks fight the Chinese army, Kato, right? Like, this guy is serious business. Like, yeah, he may just exist only on Earth, but you know what? Where Amos Burton is not most of the time? Earth. I wonder why. But out in the belt, maybe trying to stay away from Kato. Who knows? But I'm not the one to say. But what I will say is that Kato is just like I said, he is the sidekick you want. Like, what it comes down to is you want somebody who is self-activating. You don't need to tell him anything. He's he goes somewhere, the job is done, and you don't need to ask any questions, And plus, he doesn't kill people. Like, how much restraint do you have to not kill people? You know what I mean? Like, to let the police bring them in, bring them to the justice, let them have their day in court. Amos Burton, although I can respect it, just kills people, but at the same time, man, to have the restraint to knock out somebody who's trying to kill you. Amos Burton would just kill somebody who was trying to knock him out. He would kill somebody who was just trying to punch him in the arm. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but as far as the quality, especially the quality of fighter, the temperament, the discipline, they're not on the same level, man. They are literally, just like in the Expanse, worlds apart.
All right. Well timed. All right, let's bring you over and have you do your final 2 minutes.
So, Amos Burton, when is on Earth, spends time in one of the deadliest places on Earth. He goes right up to a the drug kingpin's office and, doesn't get killed. He's very smart. He grew up on those streets and knows the deadliest parts of Earth, and then went on to engage with the deadliest parts of the known universe. Nothing scares him. He's ready to take on any challenge that comes his way. Pertaining to, Amos used to be a loose cannon, right? You were talking about Miller. This is the thing I had forgotten that I wanted to touch on. He had that was informed by his trauma, and he grew immensely throughout the course of the series. He didn't start off as a special forces unit. That's something that came with time and experience, and he's become the deadliest thing on multiple worlds. Kato is essentially a mercenary, and you might think it's nice to hand people over to the police, but I don't think I have to tell you that the police are awful, and handing anyone over to them is in some cases a fate worse than death. Amos is, a special. Not inside. It's a terrible world that we live in.
Yeah.
Special forces. Amos Burton, right? He doesn't do things on. He does things for a new government that is more inclined towards the needs of the people. It gets overtaken by Marco Inaros, causing this war, but the OPA is interested in all belters, and he was trying to keep them free.
I'll finish that thought if you have any more.
So he is ideological, whereas Kato can be pointed at people by Jeff Bezos.
Well done, fellas. Yeah. So, now is the time that the dispute is ended, and it's time to settle things, folks. Let's go to disputedpod.com/Kato v. Burton and choose your winner. I believe it's all up and ready to go right now. Or if it's not, it will be in 3 minutes. I think I'll time it to go at quarter till. So if it's not right now, just wait a few minutes and it will be. So yeah, it was fantastic, guys.
This was
always having you on, and I'm really looking forward to see who's going to take on Jack Reacher in the next episode. So so
it's like trying to fight Groot.
Jack Reacher is he's one of those characters because he's not a master of all, but he knows enough of everything that it's really tough. And plus, he's so fucking huge. That's kind of, as Acadia likes to talk about, his broad shoulders.
Except when he's played by Tom Cruise.
By Tom Cruise.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Alan Richardson on the inside in that one.
Alan Richardson definitely does him right, and I'm looking forward to season 2. So before we go, Ami, any plugs that you would like to give for your stuff?
Twitter was already something that I had struggled with because of what its climate looked like. But Axelrodcast is on there. I'll post from time to time, and I'll definitely plug this. I've been toying with Mastodon. I don't know if you've tried that. You can actually find Axelrodcast on Mastodon as well. I'm going to be cross-referencing stuff a lot.
Yeah, I heard of Mastodon. I have not checked it out yet.
It's an interesting concept. It can take a moment to wrap your head around it, but it's pretty easy to use, and with the right apps, it looks just like Twitter.
All right, Ev, what do you got for us?
Oh, man. As always, it's great to be back for yet another episode of the Disputed Podcast. Thanks again for having me back. If you guys want to check me out, you can check me out on Twitter at MC_amazing. You can also find me, same sign, on Instagram. And if you really like the sound of my voice and looking at my beautiful face, you can come check me out on the Input Output podcast, where we talk about fighting games. And you'll know that everybody else's opinion is wrong, and mine's always right. So,
and you will see multiple hats.
Yep, and you will see multiple hats as well as beautiful shirts. So,
yes.
And if you really, really like me, you can go and check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/emazingxp. That's twitch.tv/emazingxp.
Beautiful. All right, and just for us over here at the Disputed Podcast, you can go check out what we've got at disputedpod.com/links. Also, we have merch. You can get like one of the Disputed Podcast t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
So disputedpod.com/merch. And we are part of the Podscure Network, so podscure.com, podscure.com. So that's all I really have at the moment. So we will be back in a few weeks. Well, Damond and I will be back to do a recap episode, a winner of this episode, so that we can then determine when we're going to do the final episode. So we're going to bring the winner of this episode in our next episode. We'll be announcing that soon, and then on that one we will announce when the final episode is going to be. So because I'm really looking forward to getting this all of this settled, because this has been a great scrap throughout. It's taken a bit to get here.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. We've lots of things that went different ways that I wasn't expecting, and some that were like, all right, finally, I got to see something good I was hoping for. So yeah, so lots of twists and turns in this. So you have any comments? I don't know have you watched any of the other episodes than the ones you've been in?
Oh, who, me?
Either of you.
Yeah, I've done both of mostly of the other fights of the people involved in mine. But yeah, I've listened to some of the others. It's a fun premise. That's why I'm always happy to come back on.
Yeah, I actually really liked the first time I even heard about it. When my mom told me about it, I was like, bro, like this is amazing. Like I can't believe I've never heard of this before. So yeah, like I do like listening to like some of the other ones. I really I kind of like the what you call it, one with Beatrix Kiddo. You know, I don't know, man. I really like this show, and I'm kind of like, dang, man, like. How come I didn't know about this earlier, man? That I'll never forget Brock Sampson versus Black Dynamite, dude. That lives for that whole night where we did that for the first time lives in my head rent free, bro. I swear.
Brock Sampson, he's one of my favorite. Molotov cocktails. So
that's his cousin Kronk, right?
Right.
Same voice as Kronk and Joe.
Patrick Warburton, right?
Yeah,
he's pretty great. And this chick, Spoon.
Yep, the chick. Spoon.
Oh
yeah. All right. Well, hang tight, guys. I'm gonna sign off here. So give us a little bit while I'm doing that. I'm just trying to figure out where all my stuff is. But yeah. So I'll be back in a sec. If you guys want to hang, I'm gonna put you on mute for a little bit. So thanks everybody for joining us. So until next time, I'm Damon. I'm Dean. And remember, everything is disputed. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We are now asking you to go vote for your champion. We want to thank our advocates for their amazing defense of their champions. And finally, we'd like to thank the musical artists who created the music that helps make our show so great. We've got Hard Fight by Tajirajus, Game Changer by Icolix, Fight Club by Evil Bear Boris, Fight Makes Right by Atake, and This Party Sucks by Daniel Fish. They can be found on freemusicarchive.org or on artlist.io. See you next time.